Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Astrology with your friend Gretchen Heidel, full-time astrologer, life coach, Reiki master, and so much more. And I am here tonight live on January 5th, 2023. It's my first live on Facebook, and I'm also recording simultaneously on YouTube as well. So if you see me looking up and down on the video, that is why. Because I'm looking at two different cameras. So welcome everybody who is joining me tonight live. I know I'm going on a different night that I usually do and sort of impromptu. I didn't really make the announcements, so whoever's joins. But I wanted to go over, we have a lot of astrological energy going on currently, and I wanted to go over what's happening, what's going on, how are we starting this new year, 2023. We're starting off in an interesting way. I'd love to say we're starting off strong, but we have a lot of astrological things that are kind of a bit bumpy. So I'm going to be going over, of course, this big full moon. I say big, but actually it's little. A little full moon that is going on tomorrow on January 6th, which is our first full moon of 2023. We also have Mercury retrograde happening. Venus went into the astrological sign of Aquarius, so I'm going to be reviewing that, and we're going to touch on Mars retrograde as well. So welcome if you're just joining me live tonight here on Facebook, and like I said, I'm pre-recording also on YouTube, so welcome. If you're joining me, go ahead and like and share, and make sure that you post your astrological sign. I'd love to hear everybody's sign and where they're tuning in from, if they're a certain area of the world that you're viewing from. Hello, Rita Virgo in Colorado. Welcome. We already have a couple people joining here. So like I said, it's a different night than I usually go on, and people might not be looking out for me going live right now, but it's a little bit impromptu, and I wanted to at least record this, so even if you're watching it on the pre-recorded, you get to hear all the good astrological news that is going on. So welcome. Kate, yay, Pisces in Vermont, welcome. Yeah, we have a big full moon coming tomorrow. I keep saying big, but actually it's a small new moon, a full moon, and I'm going to be explaining that in just a moment. So let's get rolling. Let's get started, and I'm going to go backwards before I go forward just in some chronological order here, so that you guys know sort of what's going on. I took a little time off from recording, so I'm going to do a little bit of a catch up and just sort of review what is happening in the astrological skies. Hey, Kelly, Florida, Leo, welcome. I love that everybody is joining and liking and sharing and doing all the stuff that you guys do. And go ahead and post your sign. I love hearing that as well. Even if you're on YouTube, I respond to all the messages on YouTube. So if you guys have not liked my channel yet, go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Cool thing is, I'm like the only Gretchen Heidel on the internet, which is pretty awesome. So if you just type my name in on YouTube, you will find me for sure. Okay, so what is happening? So we have, remember I said in my last broadcast, which was at the end of December there in 2022, that we were starting 2023 with a little bit of like a bumpy energy. Like the energy is a little bit like, kind of like, yay, like it's kind of like a false start sort of energy. That's because Mercury is currently retrograde, and it went retrograde at the very, very end of December, on December 29th, actually. So we have a Mercury retrograde we're starting 2023 on, and that's kind of, it's a little bumpy there. And so we have Mercury is retrograde, and simultaneously at the same time, Mars is retrograde as well. So we have two personal planets, meaning that they're closest to us in the sky. They're called personal planets. They're both retrograde at the same time, and that's going to be happening for almost 2 weeks, simultaneously, Mercury and Mars retrograde. Now, the good news is they're going direct. Both of them are going direct in January. So remember what I said on my last video, if you saw it, is basically that New Year's resolution, make a new start, start off strong. This 2023 is more about doing the homework behind the scenes, that sort of thing, waiting actually until after the retrograde is over, or hopefully you were smart and you started before the retrograde, like I was advising, like the week between Christmas and New Year's, before the 29th of December. If you started your resolution then a little early, then you were ahead of the curve, or wait until after it's done. And actually, toward the end of this month, we have some really beneficial, positive astrological stuff happening too. And I'll talk about that as well. But you have to stay tuned in order to find out. Hey Liza, welcome from Canada. I love that we have an international astrology audience. So thank you so much for joining. Like and share, and go ahead and post below your sign. So we have more people joining, so I'm going to jump in. So we have Mercury, it went retrograde, like I said, on December 29th, 2022, and it's in the astrological sign of Capricorn. Now, it's going to continue to be retrograde until January 18th at 8:12 a.m. if you want to be really exact and write it down on your calendar. We have until January 18th, 2023, Mercury's retrograde in the earth sign of Capricorn. So, it's like Capricorn we're in Capricorn season, right? This is this time of year, roughly from January, like 21st to December 21st to like January 21st, roughly, we're in Capricorn season. Oh, speaking of Capricorn, we have Melinda from Vermont, a Capricorn. So you must have heard us talking about you, Melinda. We were talking about Capricorns. And so we're in Capricorn season, which is how we always start the new year, right? Like Capricorn season, set some goals, make some plans. Capricorn is superpower, is goal setting and strategizing and coming up with like a plan, a business plan, a plan of action, some kind of thing, right? So that's what we're doing, right? As we get into the new year, and that happens every January. I don't know who thought up the New Year's Day. January 1st is our new year, and we have to start, with a resolution or an intention or whatever. But that's basically a thing that we do. Now, in astrology, the new year actually starts on the spring equinox. So in astrology, we don't go by the new year of January 1st, but it's interesting that whole system came up, because it's Capricorn season and that's goal setting. And so I guess somebody said, oh, let's make it January 1st and we'll set some goals. So except for this year, we start with Mercury retrograde, and Mars retrograde as well is simultaneously going on at the same time. So Mars retrograde is happening currently in the astrological sign of Gemini. It's been retrograde since like November. It's been in Gemini since at the end of October. So, we've had this really long stretch out. Mars is only usually in each sign for like a month and a half, roughly. And so the fact that we're having this really elongated Mars cycle, Mars is going to continue to be in Gemini all the way until March. We're having this really abnormally long Mars in Gemini cycle, and we're about to be done with Mars retrograde. So 2 important dates for your calendar is January 12th, Mars retrograde ends. Okay, no more Mars retrograde. Thank you. Thank you. And that ends at 3:56 p.m. Eastern time. Earlier than that, if you're on the West Coast, I guess that's like 12:56 p.m. On January 12th, 2023. And then we have Mercury retrograde ending, like I said, on January 18th. So we have these 2 retrogrades concluding and coming to an end. So we want to it's not that we don't want to goal set right now or plan right now. In fact, planning is probably a great thing. Whenever we're revisiting the past, because that's retrograde, like we're kind of revisiting the past or revisiting things that had gone on and happening in our lives, we have to look backward before we can look forward. It's kind of like how I began this broadcast, where I said we're going to go back and then review a couple things that started, and then we're going to go forward. So that's kind of like what we're doing astrologically. It's a great metaphor for what we're actually being asked to do right now. And if you're just joining, go ahead and post below your astrological sign. I love to hear from you. And so that's basically what's going on. So I'm getting a lot of people that are expressing sort of frustration. You know, Mars is our motivation, our drive, our ambition, and Mercury is talking, communicating, and travel. Oh my gosh. So all those areas are retrograde right now. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so much. So, you know, Mars retrograde, it's almost like 2 steps back, 1 step forward. One step back, 2 steps forward. Like it's like we're kind of inchworming our way through, and it's been very, very kind of hard. And if you think about Mars being in Gemini, Gemini is ruled by who? Mercury. So now like poor Geminis, I feel like are getting it on all angles. You know, it's like this Mercury, Gemini, Capricorn, Mars, you know. So there's a lot of people that are affected by these. Like Mars is the rules or powers up Aries and Scorpio. And then Mercury powers up Gemini and Virgo. So we have like all these different signs that are kind of affected. And then we have the cardinal signs with Capricorn. So Capricorn and Cancers, if you guys are Capricorn and Cancer, you're in the heart of this Mercury retrograde, or even Aries or Libra. So here we're mentioning Aries again twice. So Aries are getting affected a lot by these all these different astrological energies. So we have a lot of planets, and then we even have the mutable signs that are affected by this Mars retrograde, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, and then we have Virgo and Pisces affected by that Mars retrograde. So it seems like almost everybody's kind of getting something, you know. So with Capricorn, we want to set goals, and in fact, we might even want to go back to the drawing board and sort of revisit goals or revisit things like, in the last year or two, oh my gosh, we've been a little stifled. We've had a little problem getting ahead here. Maybe I have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe I have to revisit something in order to go forward. Oh my goodness, all these wonderful people are joining. Michelle Lee said, this retrograde has been making me incredibly anxious. Leo from Vermont. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so Mercury retrograde can be an anxiety, and Gemini too. Allison's Gemini, Susan Capricorn. I love that you guys are also tagging your friends in these broadcasts too, because they might want to know, like you might think of a Gemini in your life and go, oh girl, you're having a problem, or fella, you're having a problem. And so anyway, so getting back to this, this retrograde is kind of giving us this like false kind of start. So remember the rule. Anything beginning with RE is really a good, safe bet. Reconnection, reorganizing, reevaluating, like all the RE words that you can think of, like revisiting, all those things are really good to do. That's a good general guideline to do. It's not ideal to have surgery or to, you know, I don't know, like start a new job or a new relationship, unless here's the exception. If the relationship is with an ex, okay, and that's something because you're doing something from the past or revisiting something from the past. Now, you know what I always say, exes are exes for reasons. So, you know, you want to say, what has changed? What has changed in you know, how is this different in any way? And so if you're getting blown up by your exes right now, this is why. Mars is also rules over our sexuality. So we might have a former booty call, or, you know, friends with benefits that kind of revisits as well. And again, we want to like sort of just have our bearings, because this is not a good time to start new things. And so we don't want to begin new things during this time. And so you guys that have been faithful followers, and I really love you and appreciate you for following my channels here and supporting my work. You want to stay in the safe zone and think retrograde RE, revisiting. Now, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner or a salesperson, going back to past business, going back to past clients, you might want to go back and revisit that and say, hey, just calling, just checking in. I haven't heard from you in a while. Like, how are you doing? We always think new, like, and actually right now is not the good time to do new. It's to revisit the old and the past. So that's a good thing to do. And you guys have heard me say this, but my favorite part of Mercury retrograde is most definitely reconnecting with friends, reconnecting with people from the past that maybe you haven't seen in a long time or revisited. And I think that was quite lovely on this holiday season time. Like, I guess if there's a bright spot in this is to revisit those that we love, that, sometimes we get busy, they get busy. Oh my God, I was thinking of you, and I do think of you, but I haven't, talked to you or called you. So this is a good time to reach out and reconnect with those loved ones. And I always say this is one of those ideal times where you go to the grocery store and you run into someone you haven't seen in 5 years. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I haven't seen you in so long, So I think that's my favorite part of these retrogrades, is revisiting or getting those calls out of nowhere. And it's so funny how many times that happens, that I have even had that with friends that reach out, and it's like, they didn't even know about the retrograde, and they're just like, oh, I just called you, and I'm like, it's the timing, The astrology, that's one of the astrology's like stellar strong points, is it's all about timing. And so that's something that we live this clock. We live this clock unconsciously, subconsciously. We live the astrological clock, whether we know it or not. And I like that we can name it and we can know it. And then life doesn't seem quite as random. It's like, the randomness is like, oh, I ran into you. I didn't really know. But the thing is, that's the time you're going to run into someone is a Mercury retrograde, or even Mars retrograde. Mars is having us revisit our actions, our ambition, our drive, our motivation. What drives us? Where do we want to put our energy in 2023? Oh my God, that's a huge, look, time is finite, even though the astrological clock goes on forever and ever, but our human lives are finite. And so we need to spend our energy wisely. Like, where are you spending your energy? Where are you spending your time? And that is Mars retrograde. So I feel like Mars retrograde is that lens of where do I put my energies in 2023, and how do I make the most impact? And maybe I'm putting my time and effort and energy into something I don't need to do anymore. And so that's something that we're reviewing right now. And again, we're going to be doing reviewing that until January 12th, Mars retrograde, and then January 18th, Mercury retrograde. So yay! Hey, welcome everybody. Kelly said, that is exactly what I'm doing tomorrow, getting together with friends we haven't been together in months. See, that's exactly right, Kelly. Hey, Erin, welcome. Erin is Gemini. Rosalie, thank you so much. Happy New Year. Capricorn, see, from Vermont. And so yes, this is that Capricorn energy, and you Capricorns are in the heart of it. Capricorn and Gemini are you guys are in ground zero. You're like in the heart of these retrogrades. So hang in there. Like I said, there's a lot of signs, a lot of astrological signs that are all, and look, even if you're not one of the signs that I listed, I always tell this story because I think it's funny, but former partner of mine that I used to live with, he was a double Mercurial person, astrological sign, both Gemini and Virgo on his chart. And so I am an Aries. I don't always feel every single Mercury retrograde is hard, like as some of you, but he was powered, right? Double Mercury man. Okay. So he was powered by Mercury. So my Mercury retrograde was always dealing with his stuff, because he'd come in the door to be like, blah, 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 blah. Like all my Mercury, his Mercury would come in and kind of blah, like all over me. And so my life was affected by Mercury retrograde through him, because he was a Mercurial person. So sometimes retrogrades are like that. Like if you're not one of the signs that I listed, you might be like, yeah, I kind of feel some things, but it's not really like in my face. That could be how it ends up being. Like maybe it's your spouse or partner, or maybe it's a loved one or a friend or somebody in your family that affects you, and then you are kind of affected through them. So everybody's affected in some way by these retrogrades, and nobody gets away scot-free with that. Hey, Tammy Cancer in Vermont, welcome. Kelly said, oh yeah, so you're a Gemini. That's funny. So you're the one reconnecting. That's awesome. Kathy, Sagittarius in Vermont, welcome. Yeah, and so the opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. So the opposite of Capricorn's Cancer. So Capricorn and Cancer, and then Gemini and Sagittarius. You definitely, you guys definitely. And then Kelly said, what about rising or moon signs? Of course, absolutely. Like I said, like my former partner had both of those in his chart, and that was somebody that was very affected because the sun and the moon were both in in Mercury powered signs. So he always had a kind of a rough time with Mercury retrograde. So and then that made my life rough because I lived with them, and I had to kind of deal with all that, we'll just say. So anyway, so that's basically, yes. So if you have a sun, moon, rising sign, Venus sign, all those different, especially Mars and Gemini, any of those things are definitely going to make it even more powerful and more in your face, if you will. So yeah, so we have Mercury and Mars retrograde. And like I said, first 2 weeks, they're going to be retrograde simultaneously at the same time in January. And we're going to have to deal with that because it's a little bit of it's sticky. It's slow and sticky. So we might not be sailing into 2023 quite in the way that we wanted to. You know what? I'm going to give you guys a bonus at the end of this video that I'm going to talk about the numerology. I just want to make myself a note here. Numerology of 2023. That's a big topic. I might do a separate video on it, but I can touch on that too today. But first I want to talk about Venus, because we talked about Mars, which is our sexuality, but let's talk about Venus, which is our sensuality, how we love, how we express our love in our chart. And Venus this week, January 2nd on Monday, just moved into the sign of Aquarius. So that's an air sign, just like Gemini. So the air signs are getting activated here. So we have our monthly, Venus kind of most of the month will travel into a sign and sort of visit that. And so Venus will be in Aquarius from January 2nd all the way until January 26th. Okay, so for almost most of January, Venus will be in Aquarius. And what does that mean? So collectively, so we all have our individual Venus in our chart that we were born with. Just so happens your friend over here, Gretchen, has Venus in Aquarius full time. So I know about this energy very strongly. And if you guys have a Venus in Aquarius in your chart or another air sign, depends on what your sign is, how this will affect you. But collectively, friendships take on the lens of more relationships take on the lens of more of friendships. And so Aquarius is the sign of friendships, humanitarian oriented, sort of loving mankind, loving in a broad sort of universal love, all that sort of thing is Venus in Aquarius. So it's a more sort of aloof and sort of removed Venus sign. Venus in Aquarius people myself included, Venus and Aquarius people tend to have a little bit of trouble in love. You guys have heard me do different broadcasts about who the bachelors and the bachelorettes of the zodiac tend to be. It's usually Venus in Virgo, Venus in Aquarius, Venus in Sagittarius, and I've even seen that with Venus in Gemini sometimes. So Venus in Gemini gets an asterisk. But those Venus signs tend to have a little bit of a harder time in love because it's this big universal love, but it's not like one-on-one love. And that's exactly what Venus is good at. It's like she's the intimate, secret, private, sign that how do you connect with another vulnerably and more intimately when it's in this large, like global sort of love. It's like, I love you, but I love everybody. And nobody wants to hear that, when you're in a love relationship. I had a Venus and Aquarius client one time that came to me, and that person was having a lot of troubles in love. And he said when he meets women, they get mad at him. And I said, well, why do they get mad at you? And he said, because I tell them I love them, but I love people. So it makes sense to me that I would love them. And then they wanted to hear they were special, that they were they were chosen, and they, that's what we want to hear when we're in love, and that when we have a partner, that we're special and we're chosen, and we're different than all the rest. And what Venus in Aquarius is like, you're not different than all the rest, because I love everybody. And so there's a sort of like a global, sort of more removed, kind of impersonal Venus sign. Now, this is I always tell people the biggest compliment any Aquarius, especially Venus in Aquarius, can give a person is, this is my best friend. This lover, this partner, he's my best friend, or she's my best friend. Because that's the sign of friendships. And of course, the best relationships, personally, I feel, start as friends. They always start as friendships. You have to not just love your husband or your wife, but you have to like them. You have to be friends with them, like have each other's back, and you be able to tell each other anything, and all that sort of stuff is that Venus and Aquarius style, I guess. So we're going to have that. This is a time, it's like that Dave Matthews song, when friends become lovers, lovers become friends become lovers. And this is for sure a time when it can be friends with benefits and things like that. So in other words, it's love, it's global love, but it's a little bit impersonal love. Now, you wanna get in on a Venus and Aquarius's good side, if you have a partner that has Venus and Aquarius or something, is to volunteer together, do something, go to a soup kitchen together, raise money together, do some kind of thing where you're helping the world. Maybe you do a cleanup day in your community or whatever it is. Venus and Aquarius loves to, again, it's that global love and that mankind love and all that. So it's a little tricky. Venus and Aquarius is a little tricky, but we want to look at our partners in this sort of impersonal sort of way with the Venus and Aquarius, but also in a friendship sort of way. Now, we have to kind of be careful, because I'm a dating, and some people don't know this, but I am a dating and relationship coach. And so I coach my people all the time, the clients that come to me. It's very, very hard. I want you all to listen up here, and I'm not being old-fashioned when I say this. It's very hard to convert a friends with benefits into a husband or a wife. If you are looking for a husband or wife, but then you get involved with somebody that's it's a complicated and booty call, or it's friends with benefits, those almost never convert to a loving spouse or partner. It's a sort of, it's something that we see a lot on TV, movies, stories, and urban legends, it's kind of like that kind of thing, but they very rarely convert over. So I want to remind you with this impersonal Venus and Aquarius stuff, that if you are looking for a loving partner, if you're looking for a husband or wife, then say it, and don't get involved in these convoluted things. Now, if you're looking for just have a little fun, and that's fine, but be true to yourself and be honest with yourself if that's really what you're looking for, or if you're just minimizing kind of like your needs. You have to kind of, because that's the sort of danger here of Venus and Aquarius. I just want you guys to know that, so that you have the 411 behind the scenes. So it depends on how you love, and if your partner, if you have any Aquarius actually in your chart at all, you will feel this. Other air signs are going to feel it, like Gemini or Libra. You guys will feel this little boost in the love department. That'll be a nice thing. Leos, Venus and Aquarius is going to be opposite of you. It's still love. It's love that's opposing, but it's still love. So that can be fun too for any of you Leos out there looking, for somebody. It's not, whenever Venus gets involved, Venus is love. So it's like, even if it's in an opposition or a square or something, it's going to be good, because it's still love. It's just love that's a little bit, little not as easy, if you will. So I hope that makes sense. Venus and Aquarius, we're going to have from January 2nd all the way until January 26th of 2023. And I think that'll be a wonderful thing. Kelly said, Gemini sun in 11th house, but her Venus is in Cancer. So Cancer Venus, oh my God. So you want like all the squishy, warm yumminess. That's very different from this Venus and Aquarius. It's because Venus and Aquarius is quite impersonal. And that's why Venus and Aquarius people often have, or I hate to say it, and I say we because I have it too, we have weird, strange love. There can be all kinds of weird love dynamics where it's outside the box, outside, and I say weird, I don't mean to offend anybody, but like it can be like, in other words, it's non-traditional. It can be polyamory, it can be whatever, like whatever kind of thing you can think of that's like a little different dynamic, that's Venus and Aquarius. But it's not like having the sort of like, old fashioned, kind of like thing. Like if you're looking for that, that's not really Venus and Aquarius' style. So you might want to wait for Venus in Pisces, because Venus in Pisces is very squishy and romantic, and that's the next Venus sign that we're going to be going into. Okay, let's talk about this full moon, okay? Because we got to get to this full moon. Okay, so the full moon is coming at the time of this broadcast, is coming tomorrow on January 6th, 2023, and that is going to be at 16 degrees Cancer, and the peak, a height of it, I mean, you know how I always say, like, it's like a mountain, you get to the peak, the height, the peak, and then you come down off the mountain. So the height of it is tomorrow night at 6:08 p.m. Eastern time. So that's 3:08 p.m. if you're on the West Coast. Okay, so that's going to be the peak or the height of it. Now, I mentioned to you guys before that we are going to have a micro full moon. What the heck does that mean? Well, it is completely the opposite of a super moon. It's a micro moon. So if you think of a super moon, it's the closest that it is to the earth, and it's like in our face, and it's like this big giant moon. Well, this is going to be a micro moon. So it's the furthest away from earth. Okay, because we are in this like sort of lunar cycle right now. So it's a micro full moon. So will we feel it? Of course. It's going to be the furthest away, so we're going to feel it just a tiny bit less. Okay, so that means that this particular full moon might be a little bit less intense. I'm not saying totally not intense. I'm just saying a little bit less intense. And there's actually some pretty good astrological stuff. The only sort of like surrounding this particular full moon, there's like some more like nicer energies. So this particular full moon, sometimes these full moons, like, oh my God, just are like really deluge of energy. It's not to say it's not going to have energy at all. It will, but it's going to be like a little less. Now, the trick with this full moon is Mercury retrograde is super involved with this full moon. So the sun and the moon are always opposite at the time of the new moon, of the full moon. Sun and moon are always opposite. So the sun is in Capricorn and the moon is in Cancer, 16 degrees Capricorn or 16 degrees Cancer. Okay, so if you're born around this time, then this is like right up on you. If this is around your birthday, hey, happy birthday, by the way, if you are a Capricorn. Tammy said full moons are usually not gentle on you. Yeah, I know. It's like can be rough. Kelly said, oh, Aquarius, you have Aquarius in your 7th house. Yes, so you've been single for 7 years. Yeah, girl, I hear you. Like, so that makes sense, because you're gonna have Venus in your 7th house, so you might have a little love pick me up this month. So anyway, so getting back to this full moon, the thing about it is usually the sun and the moon oppose each other, and that's going to happen, of course, but here's the catch. The catch is on Saturday, the next day, on the 7th, the sun and the moon are forming a conjunction together. The sun and Mercury are forming a conjunction together in the same astrological sign again of Capricorn. They're coming together at 7:57 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday the 7th. So the two of them, because they're so close already on Friday night, that the two of them are going to both oppose the moon, not just the sun. It's going to be sun and Mercury retrograde opposing the moon at the same time on this particular full moon, micro full moon. So there's a little Mercury retrograde action going to be highlighted in this particular full moon. Watch what you say, because full moons are heightened feelings and emotions. Moon in Capricorn, in Cancer for sure is a heightened feeling. Cancer moon is super sensitive. Oh my God, feelings, 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 feelings. So, and then Mercury is blah, 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 talking so much. So we want to like zip it and listen. Listen with two, what's that old fashioned saying? You're born with one mouth and 2 ears. Listen, if you want to communicate and have those talks and all that stuff, that's fine. But listen, we're gonna be very chatty. We're gonna be very talkative during this full moon. But we have to also remember part of conversation is listening or ask questions, because that's something that we could get ourselves into some trouble if we hurt somebody else's feelings by accident because we're talking. So we want to watch. Cancer is all about feelings, home and family. It's a water sign. It's deeply sentimental, deeply emotional. So this can be a heightened, especially if you have any Cancer in your astrological chart, which we all do. Cancer, we all have the 12 signs in our chart. Sometimes we have planets there, which means we have a complete life lesson around that particular sign. But if it's an empty area of your chart, you still have energy there because it's going to be on a house somewhere in your chart. So, even if you don't know your chart by heart like I do, or some of my viewers know their chart by heart, you still know that you have Cancer somewhere in your chart. So how do you get along with Cancers in your life? Maybe that's a good way to know. Like if you love the people born in the sign of Cancer, which is the end of June going into July, like June 20th to July 20th, roughly, or around that time, or 21st. Those are the people in your life that are Cancer. So how do you get along with them? If you get along well with them, then this full moon, not going to be a big deal. But if they're challenging relationships, then you might have trouble during this full moon because we're going to have extra Cancerian energy. So the moon went into Cancer at 9:15 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday the 5th, and then we're going to have the full moon on Friday the 6th at 6:08 p.m. So just remember, this is the time to burn or destroy your new moon manifestation list that you wrote the last month that we had. And so this is the time to release it. Now, people always ask me, when is the time? When do I do it? It's either on or after the full moon took place. So if it's 6:08 p.m., you can burn it at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or even the next day on Saturday because we're starting the releasing cycle. When the full moon takes place, that's when you release, that's when you let go, that's when you purge or get rid of. So when we're talking about this Mercury retrograde, Mars retrograde, purging and getting rid of things, this is a great time to clear clutter. If you want to start 2023 to clear some clutter and get rid of some things in your life, this is a good time to do it and to release. Now, this particular moon cycle started back last year when we had the last new moon in Cancer, which took place on June 28th, 2022. That was the last new moon we had in Cancer at the end of June. So you might want to think back in your life what was going on at that time. That was when this cycle started. So now we're finishing this cycle. Full moons are always a peak, a letting go, a harvest. It's like the pinnacle of that time is the full moon. It's like the peak of that cycle. So we just get to start a new cycle on the next new moon. So don't worry. But this is when that cycle from the end of June. So if you had anything big that was going on in your life at the end of June last year, that's when this started. And now around this time, you're going to see the completion and the wrapping up and the ending of that cycle. And sometimes these ending of cycles are not a bad thing. I won an award one time on a full moon, and like certain things happen on full moons that are not always bad. It's just that it's the peak. It's like, like we're at the very, very pinnacle of that cycle. So that's basically what the deal is with this full moon. Hey, Wendy, Aquarius from Vermont. You might want to watch the replay, Wendy, if you're just joining, because I talked about Venus moved into Aquarius recently. Michelle Lee said she's not going to speak all weekend. Zip it, right? Except for, here's the thing, with the Sun and Mercury retrograde being conjunct over the weekend and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to be like blah, 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 blah. We're going to be wanting to talk and wanting to communicate. I apologize. I just had to send a call to voicemail. Sorry, I messed up the video there on YouTube. But basically, we're going to be very talkative, communicating, talking. We're going to almost be like diary of the mouth, I'm sorry to say. But we have to watch because people's feelings are so raw. They're so raw and vulnerable right now with this Cancerian energy that we have going on. Now, Wendy said she has company coming. Okay, but if they're staying in your home and family, that's home and family. And by the way, we might be reconnecting with our family. We might be, kind of coming together with a family member over the weekend, or we might just be spending time at home. That can be a nice Cancerian sort of time. I will say on Saturday evening, this Cancer moon cycle will end at 9:40 p.m. and then of course the moon will end up going into the astrological sign of Leo, and so that's basically something that we can look forward to. So we had the moon, for a couple days was in Cancer, and then we'll go into Leo moon over the weekend. So it's gonna be a time, and Leos can be loud and proud. Okay, there's a little ego with the Leo, and I have some Leo in my chart. I'm not throwing stones at glass houses here, so but yeah, and we have to also remember in ourselves not just to be sort of careful of how we communicate, but also remember that other people are struggling right now too, and we ourselves might be feeling a little sensitive. So try not to feel too overly sensitive, I guess, taking things personally and all that stuff. We want to let that go. Okay. So I told you I have a bonus here at the end of this broadcast that I was going to talk a little bit about the numerology of 2023. And if you guys can do me a favor, like and share, post your astrological sign if you're just joining, and it helps to get the good word out in the algorithm. And so that's a cool thing. Julie, hello, Taurus from Vermont, welcome. This is exciting. And if any of you have any questions, I am going to be pulling a collective card. What do we need to know about this full moon and everything at the end of the broadcast too? But I told you I'm going to do a bonus, and the bonus is 2023 astrologically or numerology wise is S7. Okay, so this year is a 7. And so what does that mean? So the number 7 in numerology, it's a universal 7, meaning that the whole year universally is going to be numerology wise vibrating to the frequency of 7. And so 7 vibrates to the frequency of Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So we're going to be having almost like a Piscean year, the whole year in numerology. And this is a year where we're going to be connecting more to spirituality, connecting more to healing, to our feelings, to intuition, to possibly religion, questioning those things, manifesting. This is a wonderful year for manifesting, but it's also a year to really keep in mind what our feelings are, because feelings sort of manifest, right? So whatever we're feeling on the inside, we're manifesting on the outside. And so be very careful of your thoughts and your feelings during this 7 year, because this is going to be a year where manifestations actually come quicker, which is a good thing. But sometimes our feelings are not always positive, and sometimes our thoughts are dark, and sometimes we feel overwhelmed by things. Oh, I should add, if you've been feeling a little bit of a dark energy going the last week of December and into the first week of January, that's because Lilith has been opposing Pluto in the skies. It's like Lilith is kind of like Mrs. Pluto and Pluto is Mr. Pluto, and it's like, oh my God. So it's like Hades, the dark, so there is a little bit of that going on in the background that we've been experiencing too. So if you've been noticing any kind of weird dark thoughts coming over you, that's why, like, Lilith and Pluto are opposite each other, and it's like, oh, those two. So anyway, so getting back to this Pisces year, the 7 year, this Neptune year, Neptune is all about miracles, serendipity, soulmates and twin flames and all that kind of stuff. So, but it can also have that, Neptune can be confusing and kind of be lacking clarity and sort of like, what am I meant to do? Where am I going? How did I get here? Seven can also have that as a number. 7 can also have a connotation with addiction. So we want to watch that addiction stuff because that can also be. Now, if you work in an industry that's a more creative industry, that is wonderful for you. If you're really working with linear, like you're a tax accountant or you're, like, I don't know, a person that just has to do things very methodically, that's not going to be good for you. So 7 years are more about creativity, more about artistry, painting, singing a song, writing, connecting with nature, connecting with animals, all those types of things. That's a 7 year. But we want to watch the dark side of the 7. 7 can be manipulation. 7 can be deception. 7 can be, some of those yucky things. Addiction is very 7 oriented, or wanting to escape, wanting to leave, all that. Now, if you want to know, this is getting a little bit complicated. I don't want to spend too much time on this, and I can always do another thing on this. I'm saying, Liza is saying that at a Pisces, oh Lord, a Pisces year, I'm not sure if I'm cut out for this. You can do it. You can do it. Wendy said, stuck in the mud for 2 weeks. Yes. Yeah, that we've had that opposition going on. That's been a thing. Noel, she's frantically writing about real estate investing. Right now is terrible time to invest in anything real estate related until these retrogrades are over. And you might want to watch the replay of this because, retrogrades cycles are not good to invest anything or to do anything new. That's not a good time. You want to wait until all the retrogrades are definitely over. So, oh, good, Rosalie. I'm so glad that your daughter filed paperwork for child support. Okay. So 7 years basically is a Pisces, it's a Neptune. So how do you know what your personal year is going to be? So I'm going to give you the 411. You take your month you were born, the day you were born, and you add them all up together. Okay. So let's say you're born January 23rd. So that's 1, 2, 3, right? So you want to take 1 plus 2 plus 3, what is it? 1 plus 2 plus 3, okay? And then that gives you 6, right? So you want to take 6 plus 7, that's the universal year, and then that ends up being 6 plus 7 is 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. So what ends up being your personal year is it would be a 4 year for you. So you'll still feel the universal year, a 7, but your personal year would be 4, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys, I know that I don't usually do math on here, but that's basically how you do it, is you add up and you always add up separately like that, you know, and then you come up with your number. So if you guys know your number, so Noel said she's a 2. Okay. So there, it'll be a 2 year for you, which is all about pairs, partnerships, you know, duality, all that kind of stuff is a 2 year. 2 year is also a moon year. And so, so Eliza, you're 6 year. So last year was 6, this year's 7, universal year. So, so 6 is all about Venus, money, investing, things like that. Michelle said, oh, hers is a 7. So the universal year, so yours must have added up your Michelle, your day and your month must have added up to 9, I bet you, because 9 is is it'll end up being the same. Yeah, no, Wendy, not the year you were born, the month and the day you were born, you add that up, not the year. Okay, just so that you know. The year, the universal year is 7. So you add up 6. Yeah, so Kelly said 6. So if it's a 6-5, you do 6 plus 5 plus 7, and then you come to your whatever your number is. I admittedly am terrible at math, so whatever that ends up being, 6 plus 5 plus 7, whatever that number is, and then you reduce it down even further, and then you come up with your universal year. So if it comes up to 9, it'll always end up being the same as the universal year. So if your month and your day equals 9, then it'll always end up being the universal year. So Kelly said yours is 9. Yes, completion. Yes, completion. 9 is completion. So I hope that helps. I hope that wasn't too complicated. So your month, your day, not the year, and then the universal year, which is 7. So you use that. Yes. Michelle said, is that right? I'll have to check these. I'll have to check this math. Yes, you do plus 7. Exactly. That's the year. So that'll be your specific year, and that'll come up. So if you come up to a 7 and it's the universal year 7 and your personal is 7, if it's all 7, then it's going to be a 7 year for you. You're going to be in the heart of 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. So 7 is Neptune, and like I said, it's also very good for intuition. So if you have any aspirations of learning intuition, connecting to your higher power, connecting to your spirit guides, doing all that stuff, that's a 7. This is all 7 stuff. It just might be weird. This might be another weird year for stock market stuff, because it's like nobody knows what the heck is going on. And that's 7 too. That's confusion. 7 is confusion. So yeah, so I hope that helps. And I say confusion if it's the lower vibration of 7. The higher vibration of 7 is miracles, serendipity, intuition. I mean, 7 does have a higher Achillean, and then there's the lower vibrational frequency of 7 as well. And who's in charge of the vibrational frequency? You are. You're in charge of your own frequency. So if you're already low and down in the dumps, you might have the lower expression. But if you're in the higher vibration and you're doing really well and you're manifesting and you're achieving, then you'll be in the higher expression. See how that works? That's up to you. Those things are up to you. Okay, so somebody asked, let's see, Gloria was asking about, Gloria, oh, no, sorry, not Gloria, Rosalie was asking about child support. I'll answer that question, and then I'm going to do an overall card for the collective here that we have. What do we need to know about Rosalie's daughter getting child support? Ooh, got a card fill out there. I hear hunting down. So is this person the former partner or the father of the child? Are we hunting him down? Like, I almost feel like this person maybe moved away, or is hard to get a hold of, or works under the table, or some kind of thing. Like, I almost feel like we're having to, locate this person in a way. Yeah, this person's doing some kind of shady thing. I'm sorry to say that. But we have the moon here, Rosalie, and that means that the person is like, this is like, do you see how like she's in her boat and she's traveling? She only has this little light from the moon. There's just a small slit. She doesn't have a flashlight. She doesn't have GPS. So there's something about this person that we're trying to get child support from that we don't know where they are, what's going on. He'll run when he gets served. Yeah, he's going to do some shady stuff. So the good news is I actually feel that he will be served, and that's going to happen, but then it's going to be bumpy from there. I don't know why, but I'm hearing June. So I don't know if like June is a big month where that ends up coming in, or he gets served then or whatever, but I hear June. So there's a spike in energy at June. So I hope that helps. So yeah, so Noel, I can answer this question on the fly here. Will this be a good time for Noel to invest? We'll just say no. Noel, I'm hearing March for some reason, but I don't know, this particular, yeah, no, honey, you're getting the Tower card on that. Anybody out there that knows about tarot, the Tower card is one of the worst cards. So we don't want to do the Tower card, Noel. When you asked about investing, this is a no. And then also you got the Hermit card, which is like, just stay on your own. Just maybe keep a lookout. I'm not saying no for the whole year, but definitely not right now. You're getting some ouchy cards on that one. I'm sorry to say, but the Tower card is not good for when we're asking like a yes or no. That's a definite no answer. But the Tower card can be like something that you didn't know, like, yeah, God, you find out, let's say it's a house that you're investing in and you find out like the foundation's cracked, or, like it might be some like big thing that you don't want to, you want to stay away from that. Okay, so let's do a universal card for everybody. How is this full moon going to go down? Okay, so I just want to recap very quickly. I'm going to put my cards over there. I was trying to look, by the way, Sarah, I'm gonna post this so you guys can hit the replay if you want to listen to the full thing. You can listen to it like a podcast, or it's kind of cool. Like, we have so many options here. And guess what, guys? I have a TikTok account now too, so that's fun. So again, I'm the only Gretchen Heidel on there, so you can find me very easily. All right, so recap. We have Mercury retrograde in Gemini. We have Venus that moved into Aquarius, which is making our love life more about friends with benefits, all that kind of stuff. We have the full moon tomorrow in Cancer. And that's all about home and family and feelings. And that full moon is opposing Mercury retrograde in Capricorn and the sun in Capricorn. So we have a little bit of tension there when it comes to speaking and communicating. Okay. Yeah. So, and then we have the numerology of the year, which is a 7, and we have that beautiful Neptunian energy, which could be maybe not so beautiful depending on what your frequency is and what your vibration is. And then of course you guys have your own personal numerology years, which I can't do all the numbers and what they all mean, but I hope that helped you guys to give you a little bit of food for thought. Some of you threw out some numbers there, and I told you the planets that are associated with those numbers. So yay. So, yes, what do we need to know about all of that stuff? And especially this full moon tomorrow, what do we need to know about that in order to help us to align our frequency and our vibration to the highest? Yeah. Okay. This makes sense with a Cancer full moon journaling. Feelings, right? Didn't I just say feelings? And I said Mercury. Mercury is talking, communicating, but it's not just the spoken word, it's also the written word too. So journaling, consistently writing about your feelings and activities stirs creative ideas and builds your confidence as a writer. But even if you need to process, maybe this is not a good time to talk, because remember, we're over talking and we might hurt somebody's feelings. So this might not be the time necessarily to do that. So if we have more talking, we didn't get all the talking out, journal. Just journal. See, sometimes when we do cathartic writing, journaling is cathartic writing. It can help us to align and really know more about ourselves through the writing. So I hope that helps everybody. I love that you all join me live here tonight. Impromptu, just joining on Facebook here. I'm also going to go ahead and cross post this on YouTube. So whether you watch it on Facebook or YouTube, and I will probably do some mini version of this and post it to Instagram and TikTok. So I'm trying to get the word out, trying to help everybody to know what these energies and the opportunities that they bring. So I hope that helps everybody. Welcome to 2023. And thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Mwah. All right. Lots of love.